Terrence here with Root Healthy Plants. Today we have glass gem corn. We ordered a pack of glass gem, and this is about what came in the pack of corn. What we have from that, we have this big bag right here, everything that we were able to harvest from what we got from this small amount. The math is mathing, just so you get a general idea. I'm gonna get my organic fertilizer, work it in with my garden rake, drop my glass gem corn, and then hit it with the straw. That is the beauty of growing your own food, harvesting your own food, harvesting your own seeds, so you can grow more the next year and multiply. The math is mathing. Probably wondering like what's going on with this tarp right here. As this tarp has been sitting out here, it's been deteriorating to the point to where I have grass growing through in a bunch of spots. I'm gonna uncover this tarp today. I'm gonna give this another once over with my broad fork because I walked over this area many times since I broad forked it and loosened up the soil. Cover that up, give it those corn some time to germinate so the birds don't eat it. Uncover it once they germinate, and hopefully the deer won't eat my corn. And right now, I'm just uncovering a lot of the corners. I just want to remove the bricks that I have covering certain areas, and then a lot of those tent spikes, they'll easily pull out of the ground. And we are going to get busy and see what's going on under this tarp. This tarp has been covered for over a year now. Let's do it. Oh, this tarp is breaking apart. So far, so good. It's looking like the tarp has done its job for the most part. Now, in an ideal world, this tarp would not have broken down, and this would all be just plain fertile ground to grow in, and it'd be go time. Yeah, you see, as I'm pulling this up, you might be able to hear some of the tarp ripping, and that's not good. So this tarp needs to be replaced. Now, this is actually the area where I were to put up a nice tent, maybe fill up a little kiddie pool for my little ones and put it over there. But I'm gonna move that spot to a different area. You know, I'm gonna get rid of all the grass. I'm one of those no grass people. Now, it's important not to get all that mess on your soil, because there could be a ton of seeds trying to get in there, and we want as less seeds in this area competing. I definitely don't want competition if we don't have to have it. The primary tool that I'm going to use, my trusty broad fork. This thing does its job, but you still do need to put in work. I'm not a fan of like tilling every year or tilling every time you want to plant something. I'm a bigger fan of no dig. So regenerative gardening versus conventional farming. That's how I do it. I'm gonna broad fork from the side and walk back. Maybe do like a row, get you to understand the general idea of what I'm doing, and then I'll do the rest of the work. Those of you that would sit there and watch me do it, let me know. I might take off this long sleeve. This is an example. If I wanted to go a lot deeper, I would put that in there and maybe stomp on it and, you know, kind of get really like down to the nitty gritty. I'm only trying to loosen the top layer, so that's why I'm not stepping on it, stomping on it, and doing any of that. Like I said, I already broad forked this area last year. I didn't put anything here. I only had the tarp on it. What I actually want to do is I'm going to hit this with fertilizer. I'm not a big fertilizer guy. I've actually never really fertilized outside of compost. I'm gonna get my organic fertilizer. I'm gonna throw some over this area, work it in with my garden rake, drop my corn, and then hit it with the straw, just so you get a general idea of what I'm gonna do with the rest of this area. So as far as my fertilizer of choice this year, we have Espomo Organic Plant Tone, all-purpose plant food, organic. I'm looking for the ingredients. Let's see, established plants, blase, blase, blase. All right, I'm too much of a real guy, a man's man, to want to sit here and read the directions. So we're just gonna hit the soil with it. I'm not about to sit here, I ain't got all day, I ain't got all night. Hit some of this soil with that, let that work in, boom. That looks about right. So we wanna make sure this growing medium right here has the nutrients that it needs to succeed. Trying to give this area the best chance of success that we can give it. And now I'm gonna work that in with my garden rake. The ideal tool that I would like to use right now for this process will be a cultivator, since I don't have one. Just working those nutrients into that top layer right there. Just working the rest of those nutrients there. Slow back and forth. Simple, but this is a little bit of work. It's a little bit of work, a little bit. Now that that's done, now it's time to plant some corn here. What makes sense? I'm not one of those guys that think, you know, you have to adhere to somebody's specific guidelines. It has to be exactly 1 every 12 inches. You can't, like, no, I'm not doing that. 1 in the corner, boom. Now, planting this by hand, of course, you know, it's very tedious. I'm gonna do one maybe every 4 to 5 inches. Not too deep. When I planted this last year, because like some areas, like I planted it in my front yard, I planted it by my mailbox, planted in random areas. And just to see, you know, what areas would do well, what areas wouldn't do as well. What I learned was the less corn you have in a certain place, the less pollination you're gonna have. You might still get corn. You'll end up with a cob that doesn't have many kernels on it. You're gonna wonder why, like what happened? Why does that look like that? I'm not gonna do that again. I wanna make sure I have plenty of corn next to it and we get a nice amount of kernels, because the idea here is, this is more of a survival garden for me. The idea behind a survival garden is if electricity were to go out and you didn't have access to things that can keep electricity, you know, what will you have to eat? You know, if stuff is not refrigerated, you know, do you know how to can? Can you grow food that can be dried? It'll last for years without having to be preserved. Can you survive and live off the grid with what you have, the skills that you have? That's kind of the mindset behind a lot of what I'm growing. When I grow squash, my squash of choice is butternut squash. Lasted all winter, and we are good to go on winter squash. Now, I saved a ton of seeds. I put some out this year. I let some go in the compost because I like that things just naturally grow when I distribute it with the compost. Things just, you know, squash just pop up in my front yard, squash in the backyard, wherever I didn't even expect it. When the squash pops up and just starts thriving in areas where I didn't even expect and I didn't even know where it was going, I look at it like free food. It's a volunteer. And right now we just jabbing in corn, you know, get a little bit of soil over them. I like keep it nice and loose. You don't want to bury it too low, but just enough to where, but you definitely want to keep it covered. Birds love corn. So what I like to do, I like to just cover it up with a tarp. Come back in maybe 5 to 7 days. Definitely water these in, but the moisture from watering it in, say, you know, check it after a week, and you should have a good amount of germination, and then you might be able to pull that tarp off and rock out. Okay, I'm gonna answer a question. Is this going to prevent my corn from poking through? No, it's not going to prevent my corn from poking through. This is why this is a really good thing to cover your soil with. It's organic. It'll eventually break down into the soil. I'm freestyling a lot of what I'm doing also. And if it works, I'm going to let y'all know. I do a lot of soil blocking, a lot of arborist mulch. You know, this is looking good. I think we're good to go for the day. Water that in nice. This tarp covers the whole area where I'm going to be growing in. I mean, granted, I still got my plastic bag under there. I'm going to remove that, but I just laid down my tarp and now I'm going to finish the job. All right, we're looking good. We're looking good. Yeah, I really hope you got something. I mean, like the video anyways. It's not going to cost you anything. Subscribe. Let's start the conversation. Keep it growing.